Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. In today's exciting episode, well, I've been getting loads of questions about people who are, now that it's a bit cooler, want to make themselves a Chanel style jacket. So I will talk you through all the loads of questions I've been getting recently. It's perfect. Perfect jacket. Okay, well, I have videos on most of these things. So the structural layer is the thing that I'm getting most questions about. So tweed is saggy and baggy. So in my opinion, you do need a structural layer so that your jacket will last longer than one season. And no, you can't use iron-on interfacing because that's a dressmaking fabric. Dresses are designed to last one season, whereas outer garments like jackets and coats are designed to last years or decades. So this tweed is from Linton Tweed in the UK. You can also get tweeds from Mood Fabrics in New York. Those are the two easiest places. So I have a whole video on the structural layer, and I explain the difference in a nutshell. Designer jackets come in two varieties: the regular price ones that are still very expensive, and they tend not to have any structural layer at all because it's too expensive to make. And then the haute couture ones, which are the really, really, really high priced jackets, and they have a structural layer made of netting. If you buy some expensive classes about how to make your own Chanel jacket, most of them will tell you to just do silk for the lining and tweed for the outer jacket and then just stitch those two together. That's not the same as having a structural layer. You can do whatever you want. I want my jackets to last for decades, so I do it the more expensive, it takes more time, but it will last like decades and decades longer. So that's why I do it that way. And if you want more detail on that, there's the structural, there's a whole playlist on make a Chanel jacket, and it sort of goes in the order of all the questions that'll sort of spring up naturally. A lot of people think you can't just make a jacket, you have to make a whole suit. So I've got a video, I don't agree with that personally, but I've got a whole video on questions you should ask yourself. Like, do you wear trousers? Do you wear skirts? What size skirt do you wear? Essentially, if you are absolutely positive that you want a Chanel suit, then men make 2 pairs of trousers for every jacket that they buy. So I recommend you do the same. And also, because we have days each month where we're bloated, I would recommend you do one in your size and one in the size that's slightly larger or half a size larger for those days where you're feeling a little bit bloated. And if you are going to make a skirt or trousers, then you can't use netting as your structural layer because, you want your jacket to be boxy, or well, a little bit more boxy and structured, but you want your trousers or skirt to be more flowing but not sagging. So I personally would use pre-washed quilting cotton as the structural layer for bottoms like trousers or a skirt. I've had quite a few people ask about silk organza as a structural layer. Silk organza is incredibly flimsy. If you're making a silk blouse, then silk organza as a structural layer, totally. It will help, but not for tweed. Tweed, if you've never felt tweed, just feel it before you decide what you're going to do with it. You can't treat it like it's a piece of cotton lawn or really, really light fabric. It's lots of different wools and lots of different, like this jacket here has about 2 or 3 dozen different yarns in there. Some of them are bits of plastic, some of them are neon blobs, and some of them are cotton, some of them are metallic, some of them are wools, and they're all woven in there together. So it's quite heavy, the fabric. Some people make coats out of these. So coating fabrics are very heavy. So you can't expect some flimsy fabric to work as a structural layer when your outer fabric is so heavy. It needs something supportive to support it. I've also had quite a few people ask if you can just put iron-on interfacing and iron it on the back. No. The beauty of tweed is that it's loose, all these amazing, expensive, unique yarns and threads all woven together in this incredibly, like there's only sometimes there's only 50 meters or 50 yards or 10 yards of a tweed in existence, and that's all they ever make of it. It's an incredible fabric, and yeah, just ironing, basically melting glue on the back. You're squishing it down, and I get why you do that for dressmaking fabrics. You can just buy more if you mess it up, but it would just be heartbreaking to totally wreck tweed. So no, if you don't have time in your life right now to do the hand sewing required when you work with tweed, just put it off for a few years. Buy a jacket from a fast fashion store or wherever for the next few years, and just think about, and when think about what sort of tweed that you want, and when you find one that you really like, buy it. But yeah, I just feel like making a tweed jacket is something that you shouldn't rush into, because if you get the first one wrong, then you'll never make yourself any more jackets. But if you take your time and do it properly, then you'll just end up with dozens and dozens of jackets. And yeah, you make them each one slightly more perfect, and it'll be awesome. You'll have the best wardrobe. So I definitely think you should take your time, even though we're all so time poor. And another thing I keep getting is, how do you clean your jackets? Because regular dry cleaning is just for cheap things. It's not for expensive designer items using custom fabrics like netting. I just think this is so obvious, but there are loads of dance schools, loads of them, and they are forever having concerts, and all their costumes are made out of netting and sequins and beading. Or if you live near a big state opera or the classical ballet where they perform, all those costumes get dry cleaned by specialists, and that's also usually where the rich people live, and usually where the specialist dry cleaners are. So you just go to them. If there's not one in your town, then every 3 months or every 6 months when you go to the big city near you, just pre-book, and when you spend the weekend in the city, just take your dry cleaning to that specialist. Also, dry cleaning isn't magic. It's a fancy vacuum for your clothes. So I'm not sure that dry cleaning is as awesome as you think it is. But yeah, all you have to do when you wear investment clothing is, once you wear it, you put it on the coat hanger and you put it in a rack, and you just leave it there to air out for 2 or 3 days before you put it away again in your wardrobe. So it needs to fully dry out and fully air out each time, and then you can put it back in your wardrobe. But as I said, if you're not ready to have the fuss of wearing investment clothing, then just put it off a few years. I'd say the same answer about sweating. I get loads of people asking, how do you wear these jackets when you sweat? I don't think silk and sweat ever mixed well. And the lining is silk, and it's a fitted jacket. So the French jacket, this type of jacket, was specifically designed for extremely athletic people. If you're unfit, or you have, like, they're specifically designed for people who can sprint and not break a sweat. That was why she designed this particular jacket the way that she designed it. So, I mean, there are hundreds of different types of garments and thousands of different types of fabric. So just choose based on your needs at the moment and over the next few years. And lastly, the thing I always get asked about is beaded trim. How do you make it? Basically, what you do is you measure with a ribbon. If you just type in beaded trim on my YouTube page, 3 or 4 of them will come up. But basically what you do is you measure where you want the trim. So you go around the neck, down the 2 fronts, right around the back. And then you also have to remember to do each cuff. And once you've got your measurements, I make a template out of tissue paper. And that's like your pattern piece. And then you cut out netting, 2 layers of netting in your pattern piece. So that like under this, it goes 2 layers of netting, and then I stitch all the netting together in one big row plus the cuffs, and then I stitch sequins on top, and then I do the beading on top of that. You can't really see the sequins, but in order to sew beads on, there has to be a sequin layer, otherwise you just can't stitch it on and it sort of stretches and it goes all weird and everything. So yeah, it's really complicated. I'd recommend you actually watch the videos just for each stage so you understand what I'm saying. But yeah, and I find it easier to do it on a frame. This one here in particular, like all my early jackets, I did just freehand. I was like, oh, it's too much hassle to get out a big picture frame and staple gun some netting to it and do it that way. But then when I started doing that and staple gunning the netting, oh my God, it's so much quicker. It's like 1,000 times quicker. It's unbelievable. And it's so much less frustrating too, because when you're doing it freehand, just like stitching at your workbench and trying to keep everything straight with your hands, it's ridiculous. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been helpful, and I've put, as I said, in the description box below will be the playlist, and you can get much more detailed information on each of these topics, but that's the quick answers and where to look for more information. So thanks again for watching. I hope you've been inspired to make your own Chanel style jacket. They are an investment in time, but I think they're completely worth it. I still haven't beaded these 2 jackets. Once I bead them, then I'll stitch up the silk. That's why you could see the orange silk on the back of this one when I turned it around and showed you the back. Anyway, that's it. Thanks again for watching. Happy sewing.